Om Tat Sat. The word yoga is an ancient Sanskrit word. It means union. It can be a moment-to-moment union with a higher consciousness. This higher consciousness is a consciousness of peace that I want to talk to you about. How can you use yoga to become peaceful while caught up in day-to-day life, trying to work on difficult relationships, trying to deal with hard to nail down contractors probably in life, dealing with job loss or demotion in a job or difficulties in your boardroom, in a day-to-day life while you were trying to earn some money, for example. Because in a previous discussion, I clarified that we all want love, we deserve it. We don't have to be apologetic about it. We all want wealth. Why? Because we deserve it. Wealth is a kind of abundance and we deserve it. And all birds and animals also find caves and dens and nests. We also deserve houses and homes and beautiful ones as per our aesthetic spiritual expression, and we deserve it. But what gets disturbing in the process of procuring our basic goals is that we become without peace. We lose our peace of mind. Why? Because we are dealing with not just conscious people. I wish there were more conscious people, but we are also dealing with people with varied amounts of consciousness. Some are complete sleepwalkers, as in they are unconscious. Some people are semi-awake, some people are a quarter awake, some people are vacillating between awakeness and falling asleep, and some people are awakened. And when I say awakened, they are at least dependable, and they are dharmic, and they are ethical, and they are fun to be with and easy to work with, and they have healthy boundaries, and they have spiritual aspirations, and they come to you with a nobleness. And then you have the other spectrum in the world of people who say one thing, mean another thing, and let you down, stab you in the back. They're both kinds. And the Bhagavad Gita says, wake up and smell the worldly soup. There are both kinds. Don't remain naive. Work on your own consciousness. Work on you and be not only aspiring to be of a higher spiritual vibration, but also become more strategic. Understand, use knowledge to be wise. So we need peace. And because the peace gets fractured in our day-to-day life, we want to use the system of yoga, which comes from ancient India, which is a sub-science of the Vedas, the parent tradition, a sister science of Ayurveda. We want to use yoga to become more peaceful in day-to-day manner. Now, there are different types of yoga that will offer you different types of relief. And let me just, in brief, give you a few teachings from each type of yoga. This specific teaching might change your life. I feel what I'm about to offer you is not from a book. I've not read a book to teach you this. I have read only the cryptic verses, but I have utilized them in my life. And I can tell you this, that once I was not peaceful, not because I'm a monstrously crazy person, but like any other human being, you're a well-meaning person, but your peace is getting fractured in life. But when I started employing this yoga techniques and teachings, it made all the difference. So let's begin with what is known as karma yoga. In karma yoga, what you can do is what you understand here, it's a very basic attitude level change. And in short, then there are two attitudes that you have to bring into your awareness. The first attitude will be that I am not going to lead my 24 hours, of which you are awake for about 15, 16 hours. I'm not going to spend my time super controlling everybody other's behavior. I will try my best. So it almost needs a little level of separation and leaving all of this to a higher power. That's it. This is very helpful because this is almost like you're not making much headway in getting your house built on time, or having your kitchen shelves done on time, or having your relationship keep up their relationship promises on time. But it's almost like you deciding to bring in a higher power between you and the other, between you and the project, between you and the dream that you are trying to achieve. It's you're bringing in a third, and that third is a higher power. I'll talk more about the higher power later, but we cannot deny, if you're watching this video, you cannot deny that there is a higher power. Without that higher power, we have been given this body by the higher power. We've been given this life and this dream by the higher power. We didn't choose it. We didn't decide it. So you bring in this higher power, and your first attitude is, look, I'm interacting in this noble way because whatever I do, I offer to the higher power. This is between me and my relationship with the higher power. What that does is it restores your peace. For example, if you're somebody who's really polite and nice to the person who sits across you in your office, that person is always mean. There is a tendency to want to be mean back. Well, I'm always nice. I always bring them a cupcake. I always share my latte with them, and they never do that. So why should I be nice to them? And there you get all caught up and become more and more peaceless, unhappy, joyless. But what if you said, I always share my cupcake because this is between a relationship between me and a higher power, that I have a cupcake to be generous about. So if you start offering your actions not necessarily to that person in front of you, but to a higher power, then you will have less fracturing within you. And when you receive something back from that person, such as that person may offer you back a cupcake symbolically, or doesn't, and in fact gossips about you to the other person, all they do is just bribe people with cupcakes. It's a gross misunderstanding of your generosity, of your love, of your niceness. It's a gross diminishing of who you are. And you can say, all right, the higher power wants it to be this way. It's okay. It's all right. This is, it's almost like you are developing a deeper relationship. It's just a coming in. Does that make sense to you people? It's not a fixing. You didn't fix it. It's not like you went in and you could say, hey, you unconscious, sleepwalking cupcake eater, without gifting me back cupcakes and being thankless for the cupcakes that come to you. Do you know? No, it's like I offered the cupcake because I have relatives somewhere else in the supernatural realm. I have a higher consciousness which is connected with a God consciousness. So this is karma yoga, your actions. Karma here means actions. It's a yoga through your actions. Don't become so fractured. That's what you do. So this is the beginning. These are two attitudes. What you give, you bring in God between you, and what you get back, you bring in God with you. This will have two benefits. Sometimes things will come your way and you won't get all egotistic and bloated up. You'll still remember God. And when things don't work your way, you'll still remember God. And you don't know why God is doing this, why you get the cupcake or you don't get the cupcake back. But the point is you have God. And God, in my understanding, is a gorgeous G, omniscient, omnipotent O, D dimension. So you connect with something more, and I'll keep talking about God to you. But whenever I connect with God, I connect with something gorgeous, something omnipotent versus that small person trying to make me impotent. And it's a dimension. In the Vedas, we'll talk more about God, time permitting, But God is not just a person or a book, but it's an allness. It's an all-pervading principle. It's an intelligence that you cannot deny. It's everywhere. And that is why in the Vedas, we have hymns like God is in the blade of grass, God is in the surf of the ocean, God is in the pebble. And that is why, they put God out of the box. God is not just a person sitting in a cloud. God is, it's when you enter the God realm, you've entered a higher universal principle, a presence, a dimension. So that is what Karma Yoga is about. And if you can do this, if you can bring God, that makes a big difference. Then let us talk about another type of yoga. There are many types of yoga. Yoga is not just physical exercise. Yoga is not just working out. Yoga is a working in. So there is another kind of yoga, and that yoga is known as Vipassana Yoga. Vipassana Yoga is taught in the Vedas, and it teaches us how you can be more deliberate, more of a mastery of your own senses, your own thoughts, your own senses, and your own speech. These three things with which we act in the world. And you cultivate a mastery of it, which I'll keep teaching you I have taught already in this global satsang, how to have mastery over your speech. I will teach more about how to master your senses and finally master your thoughts, which I'm also continuing to teach. As you master your own speech, your own senses, and your own thoughts, you're coming into a greater mastery. Now, even if somebody backbites about you or something, you can choose to think a thought like, that person seems to be unconscious. They are asleep. They are metaphorically asleep to the fact that we all share a common consciousness. They are asleep to their own humanity. I need not take this as an attack on me. So you've thought different thoughts because your thoughts are up to you. How many times, and some of you are very old students of mine here. I'm, by the way, talking to you also, if you're joining me now. I don't know, after 100 years after I've taught this, or a few hours after I've taught this class live, but I'm also talking to you, and I'm also talking to students sitting here who've been with me for many years, studying with me. And how many of you felt, let me know with your hands, raise your hands, give me a signal, that people were doing things to you, and they were playing with your thoughts, and your thoughts, you had become diminished and small, and you were feeling like your peace was gone, and then you chose to think a thought, and that thought took you back home to radical peace inside you. And in fact, the more the person discombobulated in front of you, showed you their smallness and their meanness and their nastiness, because your thoughts were up to you, you actually became more and more quiet, more and more peaceful, and more grateful to know this knowledge that your thoughts are up to you. All of you, thank you. Every one of my several students here raised their hands, and I'm sure you too may have noticed that you can change your thought, but this requires mastery. That's why it's called a yoga. It takes practice, because in the heat of the moment, the thing is that thoughts are infectious. When you're unconscious, this is what happens. The Vedas says, the Upanishads say that if you're unconscious, whoever has the bigger passionate vibration, their mind will rule the mind of everybody. So to have mastery, your mind has to be more inward with this knowledge that I'm teaching you, that you are the master, you are the self, you are a spiritual being, and you get to have almost like a virtual or a subtle boundary around your thoughts. Otherwise, have you noticed this? You're not a gossiper, but you sit with a group of people who are gossiping, you start gossiping. You're not a lusty person, but you sit with lusty people, your lusty memories or buried impressions come up. Does that happen? It happens. And I'm not against sex, but I'm against lusty, out of control. Why would we want to be out of control in any of our vibrations. We wouldn't. That would not be Dharma. So, but if you have Vipassana Yoga under your belt, your peace is truly up to you. Truly up to you. I have been challenged by, in my relationships where when I was not understood, when I was younger, I could not express myself, and my very eloquence would go against me, where people would say, well, you're so eloquent, you can say what you want, you know. What I started realizing was that my speech was my fragrance. My thoughts was my devotion to me. My senses served me. And I started withdrawing into when I want to talk in a relationship, when I want to defend myself, when I want to assert myself. Everything became part of what only in the Vedas we have this word called self-worship, Atma-nivedanam. I just started using all my faculties to cultivate my peace, not just defending myself, not just being offensive, not just being tit for tat, but more like it was a serene cultivation of inner peace. Does Vipassana Yoga help you? I hope if this much I can leave within you, this desire that you can cultivate a mastery and you don't have to be reactive. You don't have to have knee-jerk behavior when that contractor example is not working with you, or the person who had promised you eternal love is cheating on you, for example, or behaving in a manner that undermines you. What you must understand is you don't want to lose your spiritual cash, which is peace. Because I'll tell you where peace will lead you. It's not just peace. Peace is a goal unto itself, and then it leads you to something else, which I want to talk to you about. The third yoga that I want to talk to you about is Raja Yoga, given to us by sage Patanjali, also known as the eight-limbed Ashtanga Yoga, and or Hatha Yoga. It is a subset of Vipassana Yoga. It has become more popular, but actually it is a more advanced yoga. It cannot be done by everybody. It requires disciplining of the body, and ultimately it leads to very high meditative states. In Hatha Yoga, or Raja Yoga, so to say, when you learn to meditate the way sage Patanjali has taught, and your mind almost becomes like yoga chitta vritti nirodha. There are no vrittis, or vritti is the Sanskrit word for fluctuations, thought fluctuations, feeling fluctuations, emotion fluctuations, memory fluctuations. Because according to the Vedic teaching, you are pure peace. Your mind is actually pure and it is peaceful. It is these fluctuations that are disturbing it. But as you sit in meditation and you become quiet and you keep remembering, I am the sky. I am not these fluctuations. I'm not these fluctuations. Even if somebody is disturbing you and you have this practice of meditation and you focus more on being here, these fluctuations, if you don't give them energy, if you don't believe in them, if you don't give them power, they will calm down and peace will be really revealed within you. And this peace is powerful. This peace connects you to a greater intelligence. This peace connects you to a greater creativity. And believe it or not, you can attract what you want. You can manifest what you want. That is the truth, because you are a divine being, except that you need to be in this peaceful state and not in this fluctuating, crazy discotheque state. Disco, disco. I'm going to manifest. No, I'm just going to be miserable here. But when you are that beautiful, peaceful sky, then you manifest. Your need to manifest may reduce because you're feeling the peace already. But if you want it to manifest, you will. Beautiful way. This is Raj Yoga. So the teaching is, don't be a disco dancer. Be a true yogi. Figure out your peace. And then from that peace, dance away. Be a divine dancer. That's why it's called Leela, a manifestation of the divine being. But to be in Leela, you have to be in a super conscious state. And that super conscious state is not hard when you understand knowledge. What you are giving away every day is peace. What you are getting back in turn is you got the last word, you told somebody something. Get your peace and keep it. Then we are talking about Jnana Yoga. This is the main teaching of my lineage. We're teachers of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga is the path of knowledge, self-knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of your true self. Knowledge of who you really are. You see, nowadays I find spirituality is about, okay, here's how you can breathe better, you can feel better. But, Jnana Yoga likes to ask questions like, what are the problems of life? What makes you increase those problems? Why are these problems existing in the first place? Because of our own mental state. What can you do about the problems? And once you stop feeding those problems, what are you going to find? A problemless, amazing, cosmic state, or a being within you, which is your true state, known as Atma, the boundless one, or Brahman, the infinite one. So the path of self-knowledge of Jnana Yoga is not a light path. It really goes right in and says, here's the problem. I've been leading you through an inquiry. It's not a fun inquiry to say, oh no, I'm building my house by losing my peace. I'm cultivating a relationship and losing my peace. The whole thing was for peace and I don't have peace, and no wonder I'm so lost, going round and round, chasing my own, tail. And then in a short way, I have shown you how you can regain your peace by inquiring into it and cultivating it. And you cultivate it in Jnana Yoga by recognizing this. Here is the teaching of Jnana Yoga. I am peace. Shantoham. Shantoham. When I get lost here and there, I lose my peace. But I just take one step back, take a deep breath, I have peace. Does that happen to you? You're all caught up, talking to someone, sorting it out, sending an email, defending yourself, being offensive with someone. You're caught up in the world. You're caught up in what you're seeing. And then you go, back. You're peaceful. Have you noticed that? Why? Going away from yourself is lessening of peace. Coming back to who you are is peace. That is the teaching of Ayurveda also. The definition of health in Ayurveda is swasthaha. When you're established in self, you're healthy. The more you move away from yourself, your true nature, you are unhealthy. So Shantoham means I am peaceful. I am peaceful.